the Niles SNA Silent Film Museum and Edison Theater over here in Niles, California, which is actually part of Fremont, which is in between San Jose, San Francisco, and Oakland. So that gives you an idea in the Bay Area. So we thought we'd have like kind of a live, fun little show here where we'd incorporate the different talents and lookalike folks, and then also have some trivia quiz. So I'm going to turn this over right now. We're going to kind of have a three-way talk between Jason Allen, that Chaplin guy, and Nigel Driner, who came to us a few years ago to help us out at our museum as an intern, believe it or not. So I let them talk for a minute, and then we'll talk some more. Go ahead, Nigel.
Me first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My name is Nigel Driner. As Rena said, I have been involved with the museum since 2016. I was originally an intern there, and from Florida. I flew out to the other side of the country and spent about, what was it, a month and a half out there? Yeah. Just, you know, diving into all this stuff and learning more about the SNA studios, learning more about, I mean, obviously I came at it from the perspective of Chaplin, but I learned so much about Bronco Billy and all the other SNA actors and the entire story, which just made me appreciate not only Charlie's SNA films a whole lot more, but just that era in general of 1914, 1915, and the fact that the Niles is actually considered the original Hollywood. Is that correct, Rena?
He loves to give me that hard time. Yes, people love to say that, just like Jacksonville was, or just about any other place. Well, what is Hollywood? The original Hollywood really could be said to be Fort Lee, New Jersey, or Orange, New Jersey. Hollywood came later. So we were actually on par with what was going on in Hollywood at the time. It was an important studio. The Western division of the SNA Film Manufacturing Company, which was out of Chicago. The Western Division made 350 films in a 4-year period. The SNA main place, you know, in Chicago made 2,000. So it was quite a prolific film company. It was really important. But yes, that's one of those lines where so-and-so was the original Hollywood. And so he was just giving.
I was. But is there another place like the Niles Museum anywhere in the world?
There are other places that acknowledge silent films, not quite the way we do. Jacksonville's coming up with a film museum, but they're working on it in the original studio buildings. Hollywood Heritage is a lovely place right across the street from the Hollywood Bowl. Mm-hmm. They are located there, but they actually originally were part of the Paramount lot, and that focuses on both silents and talkies. So definitely check those places out. And I'm sure there's places, other parts of the world that have acknowledgement for silent films. And now Fort Lee, New Jersey, they have a museum that had a lot of silent film memorabilia and stills and things like that on display. And they are building the Barrymore Center, and they're going to be moving their whole silent film collection over there. So that's another place I would check out in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Paterson, New Jersey has some silent film elements in their main museum. I got a chance to go see both of those places. And of course, Edison, I mean, if you get a chance to go to West Orange, New Jersey and see Edison's actual lab, that's pretty amazing. But as far as focusing on silent films the way we do, especially like you said, the films in the teens, that's a really significant time period. A lot of people look at the early film, the motion picture, the Museum of Moving Image, which is in Queens, Astoria, New York. They focus on all film elements and from beginning. So a lot of things are on the early parts, but the specific time period of the teens, specific period of what happened right there in Niles, the fact that you can actually walk and stand right where Charlie Chaplin stood. I mean, you'd have to stand in the middle of the Veterans Hall now in order to be in the exact location where Charlie filmed the scene where he's watering the trees in the movie The Tramp. But you can stand right in front of the Veterans Hall and look at the schoolhouse, and you realize you're right there. You can stand in front of the fire station that is at the corner of G Street and Niles Boulevard, what is now Niles Boulevard. and you're standing in the exact same location where Charlie bops a cop and runs under his legs in the movie The Champion. I mean, to know that you're right there is pretty significant.
So Jason,
Yeah.
what was it like for you the first time you got to go to Niles and experience all these locations that Rena's talking about yourself?
Cathartic. That's all I could. It was a dream come true, and I always say, I'm still pinching myself. I can't believe that those places are revered, first of all, and marked so well. And I was taken on a first-class tour of all these fantastic places, thanks to Rena, and dragging me down to Niles. The only way that I was visiting Niles, I thought, until I could find a way or an excuse to get down there, because I'm up here, I'm in Canada, just north of Toronto, and it was a dream to go visit Niles Aswani Silent Film Museum. The only way I was visiting it was on Google Street View, Google Maps Street View. I would actually creep along Niles Boulevard.
I did the same thing before I went for my internship. I said, "Ooh, there's a record store on the corner."
That's what I did.
Very excited, yeah.
Yeah, so I would creep along and I'd just look at it, and someday I'll get there. And all of a sudden, Rena, I don't know, reached through the interwebs and pulled me through. So it was fantastic. So,
well, and you know what's interesting too is that originally I was going out to Hollywood once a year. I did some performances out at Cicada Club and other places.
Yeah.
It wasn't until in my mind as a kid, I thought, well, Hollywood must love this stuff as much as we do. They must have markers and they must have these buildings preserved. No, not at all. There's a lot of stuff they just can't wait to tear down to build an apartment complex or build a shopping mall. So if you want real vintage Hollywood, I mean, not even Hollywood, but real vintage movie making, you have to go to a place like Niles to experience it, because Niles is a little town that's literally a time capsule. So many things are original from 110 years ago now. And, you know, Hollywood is well and good. And I know they're building a new museum and everything that's going to focus on the entire history of filmmaking. But if you're really into silent era stuff, there's no better place to go than the Niles Film Museum, because not only do you have the museum, but everything around it was incorporated into the movie making of that time. The bungalows that Bronco Billy and Ben Turpin and Edna Purviance lived in, they're all still there. Raleigh Tothero's house is still there, and they're still being lived in by people today.
I know. Can you believe it? You and I, well, a lot of people have walked by the museum, take you on a tour, and you stand right on pretty much on the front lawn and look right at the buildings with your own eyeballs. It's pretty crazy. Not many museums can offer actual buildings along the street that can.
Yeah, you can go up and touch the same thing that's in the picture. You know, obviously the Chaplin studio, but you can never get in there. You have to know somebody really special to get into that place. But
you'd have to be a Muppet.
Well, to be fair, you talking about the one on La Brea in Los Angeles. To be fair to us, we don't actually have everything marked out. We do kind of pull out the jams for when we're having our events, and we do walking tours and things like that, but we don't have things marked. And there's one location that I was going to mention and I stopped, and I won't because it's a trivia question. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But and that area is not marked because you don't want to. It's not safe to walk around. But these other places are. It would be great if we could have permanent installations of saying this scene happened here, and maybe at some point we can.
Maybe what I meant by that is when you do the walking tour, you can point out all these things, and you can take a picture there, and then you can connect it to the frame of the film, and then you can take it from the same angle. And basically what I was trying to get at with this was, outside of going to Charlie's house in Switzerland, to going to that museum, the closest place to that in the U.S., I would say, is the Niles Museum. If you want the real history of Chaplin and his contemporaries and his films and just film history in general, the museum is doing their own restorations now. They're able to scan in films that they get and digitally restore them and then have them premiere at the theater. Wasn't there one last year like that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
we get given gifts of things. We were actually just given a few nitrates that were under somebody's house. The father / husband said that there's treasure under the house. They went under there and they found some nitrate films in Stockton, which is a very, very hot place in the Valley, and they were preserved. One film kind of took the brunt. Don't worry, it wasn't London After Midnight, but it took the brunt, and it meant the other ones were kept, and we're going to be slowly unfolding those. One of those that's hopefully going to make its premiere, so I'm going to do a sidebar, is Mabel's Adventures, which is a split reel with a actuality called Useful Sheep, believe it or not. And we're hoping to premiere a digital version of it online next month at our Bronco Billy Silent Film Festival, which is going to have some Zooms and some other prepared and presented programs.
So it has been scanned in then.
It's getting worked on right now.
Very cool.
Plan is for cross our fingers and toes. So if you want to get informed, please keep up with our Niles Film Museum Facebook page. We'll be promoting things there. If you want to get on our e-newsreel email list, it's gosna@yahoo.com. So I wanted to just mention about the Bronco Billy. And then also, if you guys ever come, if we're ever able to have anything again, the normal, and you come for, and I'm talking to all the people here, that you come to San Francisco, there are actually lovely walking tours done by the Friends of the Library. And they've done walking tours around San Francisco, and there's actually one that got added by Rory O'Connor, and it's about silent film San Francisco. So it's not just Chaplin, it's a bunch of other things, and I know that Nigel and Jason, you both went on that.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell them about the room in the hotel, Nigel?
Oh, me? Okay. So at the San Francisco hotel?
Yes.
Basically, there's a room in the San Francisco hotel. Of course, you film historians will know about this already, where the accused Fatty Arbuckle situation happened, which essentially destroyed his career, even though he ended up not being charged. But just the scandal in and of itself ended up destroying his career. I won't go into too much detail. If you want to look it up, you can find that. But then about 40 years later, in the very same room, entertainer Al Jolson, who was in the first Talkie, the jazz singer, died in the very same room playing cards, waiting to go on to Bing Crosby's radio show. So that room has an interesting past. And ironically enough, when we got to go up there and tour the room, a couple of the guys were walking around that worked there, and Dan stopped one of the guys and asked them, "Oh, so do you know what happened in this room?" And the guy looks at him and goes, "Oh yeah, I think Fats Domino died in here, right?" I said, "Close enough." You're combining all the stories into one. But so anytime anybody asks me about San Francisco hotel now, yeah, Fats Domino died there.
Oh, stop that.
Wow.
Now, Jason, so Jason, I got a question for you. So how I got to know Jason was through Facebook. He had posted some videos that had to do with a Charlie Chaplin guy dressed up like Charlie, but dancing like Michael Jackson. And I thought, this guy's really intriguing. And at that point, we were looking for an impersonator to come. And I thought, I should check this guy out. Maybe he's local. Maybe he's young and footloose and fancy free, and he can just pop over here, and do a little program. So I got in touch with him, and he said, "Well, Rena, I hate to break the news to you, but I'm 43. I got 3 kids, and I live in Ontario, Canada." I thought, okay, well, that was nice. And then it worked out, though. We were able to negotiate some different things and figure out that this could actually happen. And it turned out he had been he said, stalking our website, our website. So, and that's so funny. I think it's funny that you guys are doing this Google street map thing. That's really funny. So anyway, he came, and what was really neat is there was also this interesting connection to this film called The Boot Cake. And so I'll mention that. I promise I'll let Jason talk in a moment too. But in 2008, my one trip abroad, I went to the Pordenone Silent Film Festival. And I saw this wonderful film called The Boot Cake. It was made by Catherine Millard, who was a filmmaker from Australia. So here I am, and I thought, and it's about this wonderful Chaplin Circle group from Audipur, India. And this Dr. Aswani, and I totally was captured by that. And so I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm sitting here in Italy, hearing an Australian woman introducing her film that is made about a group of people in India that are celebrating an Englishman who made it big in America. And I thought, what an amazing global experience I'm having right now. And I was blown away. So as I'm watching Jason dance like Michael Jackson, I'm realizing there's scenes of it where he's in India. And I mentioned, and then I saw his Kickstarter, because he did a Kickstarter to go to London and to Audipur. And I thought, oh, Audipur, he's supposed to have seen this film. When in fact, he said he'd never seen the film. He saw the trailer of the film online on YouTube, and that inspired him. And that blew me away, that you would do that kind of sacrifice and that kind of effort to go someplace that you saw in just like a couple of minutes in a film. But that's how I really connected with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason, why don't you take it from there and tell us about how you did that?
Yeah, that was an interesting series of events for me, for sure. The boot cake was something I just couldn't get my hands on. Nowhere in North America, nowhere online could I find a copy of the boot cake. Little did I know, Rena had it sitting on shelves in the store of the museum for sale. I didn't know that, and I didn't know Rena, didn't know the museum well enough to even ask. However, I had made connection with Ashok, and I believe Ashok is watching right now, and his grandson Talon. Hello, and
We'll see you next year.
Yeah, we're supposed to actually be in Niles right now, sitting there together, probably having a coffee or lunch or something like that. And but Mother Nature had better ideas right now, so hopefully next year. Anyway, so having Rena contact me because of that, because of my connection to my India and boot cake, it was all super surreal. As I said before, I was always beside myself as I was trying to piece that together, trying to explain what's going down to my family, telling my wife Barbara about it. Yeah. So you thought that I might have been a local. You're almost right. I turned out being loco, as it turns, doing crazy things like that. I had contacted, looking for this Ashok guy who figures in this boot cake documentary that I didn't see. And eventually I did get a hold of him, and was invited as a guest of honor to go join he and the rest of his town and followers of Chaplin in the Chaplin Circle, Charlie Circle. And yeah, that was the beginning of it. And I've been to India 3 times now to celebrate. Walked down Mahatma Gandhi Boulevard there down. It was amazing parades. You could see lots of documents of that. And so on.
Jason, I know that you've told this story in depth before, but for people that may not have heard, how did you discover Charlie Chaplin?
Oh yeah, yeah, I do get asked that an awful lot. And I started out. I'm an actor. I've done stage work, professional stage work, and television work, and but I didn't go to school for acting. I went to school for architecture. And so that just wasn't part of my family's support. It was more of a blue collar type of upbringing where arts just wasn't part of it. I was the one that was into the arts, wanted to be an actor. And eventually while doing these roles in professional theater, which is an entirely different story, how I got to be a professional theater actor on stage and then doing some film and so on. I wanted to learn, I like going the harder route, something that will teach me something. I thought, well, if I could just learn to do something like Chaplin. Chaplin's the origin of some acting, some movie acting and so on. I know I'm kind of jumping all around, but I've always wanted to portray Chaplin in some way or another as I grew as an actor on stage. And it wasn't until I was presented with an opportunity while working on another show. I was working on, I think it was Glass Menagerie. I was the gentleman caller in that. I think that was the play I was doing professionally. And I was called in during a rehearsal to the artistic producer's office, and he said, "So, Jason, what kind of show do you see yourself doing, or what role would you like? We're looking for other things to do." And I said, "Well," and I was having trouble with my lines, I remember at the time, so I joked and said, "Oh, I'd love to do something where I don't talk, maybe a silent film. I'd love to do Charlie Chaplin." So the truth came out, and I would love to do a Charlie Chaplin show on stage. It'd be fantastic. And he goes, "Well, how about you write it, and I'll produce it, and we'll see what it's like." I said, "No, I don't. I'm not a writer whatsoever. Definitely not a playwright." So that night I went home and started writing a one man, one act play about Charlie Chaplin called About Face. And it was fairly successful, I have to say. And I was very happy to do something like that. And that was my springboard into working as Chaplin. And that's 15 years ago now. And
Wow.
I've done a lot since then, and gone into phases and creating my own films. So that's how I got into it. I felt my body was fitting for it. As an actor, I felt that it was a real challenge. If I could go ahead and make a good version or convincing copy of Chaplin on stage and be dramatic about it, which I did in the writing, that would be for me.
What is one thing you learned about Charlie that blew you away in the midst of learning the character, learning about his life, evolving into this persona? Is there something that you discovered that really blew you away about Chaplin that you would have never thought of if you hadn't have divulged into this stuff so heartily, I should say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What blew me away about Chaplin, while I hit the books hard on learning about Chaplin's life as a pedestrian, learning, where it grew up, how, finding out that he even, right from the beginning of, oh, the guy talks. Yeah, you can actually, from that point to, oh, he's from London. I thought he was American. Oh, he doesn't have a mustache. Oh, he's in full living color. From that level all the way to, and I'm still learning, especially hanging out with Dan Kamen. I'm learning a heck of a lot about Charlie Chaplin. He's constantly blowing my mind. But back then, what blew me away was, first of all, the magnetic ability he has on me personally to stare at him every time I watch his films is something that an actor wants to achieve. So if I could find that, that's where the inner actor was seeking. As the playwright, I wanted to find some dramatic pivotal or hinge or something to hang on. And I found out about his mother being committed to an asylum, Cane Hill Asylum, and so on. And I had to get inside of Chaplin's head and go, wow, so what would that feel like to a young boy growing up so poor, and his only parent that he's with suddenly disappears into an asylum. And as you're growing up as a young boy, and as you're so artistic and you learned it all from that same woman, or you got impressed by it through that same woman, and then see her decline in such a way, what does that do to an actor or a young man who then goes on and tries to create art? Would you work twice as hard as you would have? Do you try to escape the possible inheritance of that mental illness? That was the kind of in-depth thing that kind of blew my mind on, God, I have something to write about. I'm going to go for that. It's the internal feeling of a young boy who became a superstar and having to deal with the planet staring at him all day long.
Before the term superstar was even really a thing that existed, there were film stars and there were stage stars, but Chaplin was sort of the first pop culture Beatlemania type thing that the world obsessed over as an entity.
Yeah, right. See, so imagine that kind of burden on a young 20-something young man who doesn't have anybody that's gone before him to demonstrate how to conduct himself, that came from rags, suddenly is in riches and great power and adored. And 100 years later, we're still talking about it. Actually, we're pulling things out of the catacombs in order to get more information about that guy. He's not even around. you know,
Mhm.
that's
We're
not
dissecting him, dissecting every element of his life. Well, I think we could, and I say this lovingly, nerd out for quite a while now about all things Chaplin, but we probably should move on. So, because some of the people are probably like, get to the part of the, yeah. So we do have a trivia questions, and I wanted to explain how we're going to do this because it's, and please bear with us and please be gentle because this is all our first time doing this kind of thing. So, first of all, we had quite a few questions that were submitted, and then we added a few of our own. And I want to acknowledge, and I'm going to mess up the names, but Paulo Pastella, Karina Alves, Sarah Bigelson, and Adrian Magpante, who submitted questions. Those are ones. Some of those are the ones we selected. And so what I want us to do is, just to be fair to everybody, is we're going to ask the questions. And then we have the chat mechanism, and I think you all know how to do chat, I'm hoping. We're not going to do the talking and all. As much as that would be great, I think we can't handle too many balls to juggle in the air. Yeah, there you go, like that. You're right. So, so we're just asking for the chat. So, and the thing about it is, you can answer all the questions, and if you know you got them right, I mean, you may not get the first one. So let me explain. You can type in your answers, and then the first person who answers the question correctly will win, but we're not going to announce anything till after our reel that we're going to play in just a little bit. Yes, you have to wait. The other part of it is you only get to win once. So if somebody else is, you answer every question right, but then the next person answers, you know, so I'm saying is you may not officially win after that. And a lot of it's just going to be bragging rights, folks. You know, I don't know if I can really mail things across the world, particularly inexpensively. What I can say is anybody who wins will get prizes that if you come to Niles, you'll be able to cash them in. So, but you know, we'll figure out a couple things that we can send through the internet. So what I'd like us to do is ask these questions, and then we'll post the questions as well. And I think that, how do we do that? So Nigel, would you be able to post
the questions? I thought we were just going to read them.
We'll just read them. Yes,
Okay.
I know, but I was trying to figure out if there's a way we could.
You know what I can do? I've got my questions here. How about I just, I'll type them in the chat as well while I'm asking. I got 4
sweetheart,
questions.
that's great.
And then at least they're there for people to read. And am I going first? I mean.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Oh my God. No, okay.
I gotta go.
Am I just spewing out these 4 questions right now, or do you want me to milk every one of them?
You can pause in between each one. How about that? You can pause.
Read? You want me to read?
Well, why don't you read the question, give people time to respond, maybe like 30 seconds,
Yes.
and then move on to the next one, maybe. So
Okay.
people aren't answering the question before while you're at, you know, just to break it up. So when we go back later and look at them, we can see a definite separation.
I've got it typed in, ready to press enter, but I'm going to say, here's the question. Number 1, who are the 4 founders of United Artists? Who are the 4 founders of United Artists? And I'm pressing enter now.
John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
Oh, don't give away.
Very close. Very close. They united and they were artists. You know.
All right. So go ahead with I think you can go ahead with the next one.
Question number 2. Question number 2. Let me just copy and paste this sucker in here. Okay. All right. This one. No way anyone in the world will get this one. What Charlie Chaplin film that he wore? Name the Charlie Chaplin film where he wore a tree costume.
Okay, and you only can put it in the chat. Do not put it in the Q&A. We will not be responding to anything on Q&A right now. So.
Ooh, they're coming in. They're coming in fast. That's great.
I know. I thought it said 1, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, that's scrolling. Okay, keep going.
You think those 2 questions were amazing questions? I'm copying and pasting the third one. The third one, let me hit paste. Here's a third question. Who is the lead actress in the majority of Charlie Chaplin's films? Who was the lead actress in the majority? That's kind of the key question here. Majority. And there's really only one answer to that. God, you guys are like lightning.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's question number 4 coming up. And I'm from Canada. Okay. And I'm going to just paste this in. There's a typo north of the border in it. It's the word color. What was the true color of Chaplin's eyes? Yeah, right? Mine are not that color. Oh, is that? Oh, God.
Neither were Robert Downey Jr.
Mine are orange.
Don't worry, Jason. You're okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now we're on to Nigel.
Oh, no, he has one more.
I do?
Oh, wait, no. Oh, no. Okay, I'm next. Never mind. Sorry.
All right.
All right. Chaplin's 1923 film, A Woman of Paris, was based on the flamboyant and extravagant life of which woman?
That's a good one and a tough one. They're not all eye color, folks. Okay.
Oh, wow. Someone just got it. Fantastic.
Wow.
Okay. Then go ahead. Keep going.
All right. Jackie Coogan was the breakout star of Chaplin's 1921 film, The Kid. What TV show in which character, what TV show and which character did Coogan act in? Someone answered before I even finished the question. That's great.
It's a two-part question. Got to make
That
sure.
was question number 6, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What TV show and what character? So both answers.
Okay, we got it.
All right. What is the first Charlie Chaplin film that he acted the role as a lady?
Oop, I got to delete that off my master questions here.
And honestly, bonus points if you can get all of them.
Yes.
Ooh.
We'll give him 3.
Yeah, just the first one is required, but if you can give us all 3, then bragging rights.
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
That, as my dad would say, that and $1.50 will buy you a cup of coffee at Denny's. But he said that like 30 years ago, so I'm sure the cost goes up now. But all right, keep going.
All right, and this is the last one for me. What is the name of the juvenile group that Charlie Chaplin belonged to and rapidly won popular favor as an outstanding tap dancer?
Oh, damn.
That's a tough one. All right. But they're getting it. So we'll move on to the next question. Here we go.
Someone did get it right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool.
Sure. Okay, so here's a tough one, and it's a 3-parter. So did Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, and Buster Keaton act with Chaplin? So I'm throwing that out there, and there is different elements of the same question. So Stan Laurel, and then if they did, then write down what they participated in. What were they part of? So Stan Laurel with Chaplin, Oliver Hardy with Chaplin, and Buster Keaton with Chaplin. And there's a little trick to it, so we'll answer that. Okay. So I'm going to let, it looks like we got some answers coming in. So I'm going to now ask the next question. And that is, what was the name of the location where Charlie is seen walking on the road at the beginning and the end of the film The Tramp? It's a particular location near where we are located, and it goes by a couple of different names, and I will work with just about any hybrid of those at all. So it's you can give me 2 different answers and it would be perfectly fine. I'm sure that there was a different name at the time, but I'm talking about the current name it's being called. So it looks like we got a few. Okay. So what then the last question. Here we go. The bonus, it was going to be 10 questions and I threw in a bonus.
Oh, damn.
What was the first, because it's a little tricky. What was the first short that Charlie made while under contract for S&A Film Manufacturing Company, and where was it filmed? Hit it. Okay, so we're not going to answer. We're not going to say who won what now, because we are
Very
going to
good. God, people know their stuff. It's very impressive.
Yes, and somebody's giving us the full Monty here. That's pretty neat. All right, so just remember that this is mostly for bragging rights, just like the Chaplin contest winners. It's mostly for bragging rights, but it is kind of cool. And we will do something that will make it special. But the nice thing about, let me just say something about the Chaplin Lookalike contest. So back in the 50s, so the studio was there from 1912 to 1916. Back in the 50s, the local Chamber of Commerce had S&A days. And they had parades and things like that. And then it kind of went by the wayside. I'm guessing that people didn't know what S&A was anymore. Kind of got lost to the annals of time. And then in 1979, the group put together a lookalike contest. Now, that was only 2 years after Chaplin had passed, so he was still in people's minds and such. And there was a huge event, and on our Facebook page, we have the first winner, Charles McClellan. He's listed, and there's a video of him and pictures from that day. And we wanted to acknowledge that. And then so that went on for a couple of decades, and it was quieter and smaller each year. And they were showing films. It started out, from my understanding, 8mm films in storefronts. Then it went to grainy VHS tapes. But there was really no connection of what had actually, what movies were actually made there and such. And that's kind of how he came to be. Bronco Billy and the S&A Film Company is the name of a book that my husband David Keene wrote, and it talks about Charlie's time in Niles and such. And that really, his writing of the books, his collection of photographs and such, really kind of got the whole film festival started, and then that caused the film museum to happen. And then what happened is the Chaplin days had basically gotten to the point where they were having hula dancers and Elvis impersonators in addition to the lookalike contest.
It was evolving past the purpose of it.
Yes. I mean, they were throwing everything in, and there was bed races at one point, and it's really cool, but it kind of got quieter and quieter. So our group came in, we suddenly started showing movies in an original 1913 Nickelodeon movie theater, and I realized this is the time for a resurgence of Chaplin days. We'll show the actual films he made while in Niles on the big screen, and we'll be able to celebrate that. There's no huge parades, there's no vendors, it's not it's a quiet event in that regard, but it's a really fun, folksy, homey type event. So we wanted to have. If you love
Chaplin, there's no way on earth you will be disappointed in a Charlie Chaplin Days event.
Yes, I mean, got to understand what Niles is. Niles is a historic district of Fremont. It's only 5 blocks long. It's a small place. So we and there's a lot of antique stores, and they've got lots of things for Charlie. And a lot of the folks there don't actually know the direct connection. They know that he was there, but they don't necessarily know if they have a painting from say the circus. They may not realize that movie was not made in Niles. I mean, so we've definitely educated people. I've been very impressed with so many local townspeople learning about Charlie and telling all their friends and all that. And we're very thrilled that that's all happened. But what I can say is that the lookalike contest that we've offered, we've never made giant cash prizes or anything like that. We kept it pretty low key, and we all tell people it's whatever prizes are things we've collected to give out, and then also ice cream. Now we have a couple of ice cream places in town, and we take people on a walk. We do have a little parade of people who walk down the block to the end of to J Street, and we get some ice cream. And the reason for that is when kids were used as extras in the films, they would shut down the schoolhouse, and they would have the kids come and be in the film as bystanders or what have you. And how they'd pay them would be with an ice cream cone. So we really felt that we wanted to continue that tradition. So you get an ice cream cone when you, or a Sunday or what have you, when you participate in our Chaplin days. I'm saying that for a reason, because when you see the montage of all these different lookalike people, that's the kind of thing we'd want to do. So it's a low-key, fun event, and so I want Nigel to introduce it, and we're going to show a reel, and it's got a whole bunch of different things in it, including, and I did want our Niles S&A chaplains. So we've had several people over the years. Be on the lookout, Jeffrey Weissman, Al Proietti, and Jason Allen, of course. And there's been several other folks that have portrayed Chaplin. And of course, the nice thing is the more the merrier. We want as many Chaplins as we can walking down the street because, and I tell people, you're not going to believe it, but you're going to be a celebrity. And they're like, what? I go, no, you walk down the street as Chaplin, people want photographs with you. And they completely thought I was faking them out. And then they came back and said, everybody wants a picture of me. And I mean, they could be very different than what Charlie looked like. Let's just put it that way. Could be a girl, could be somebody who's, not the same culture, what have you, tall, large, whatever, doesn't matter.
But that's the amazing thing about that costume is that anyone can put that on, of any race, of any ethnicity, of any gender, and people know who it is.
Yeah.
Especially even if you go back to the 20s and look at the female Chaplin impersonators. I can't remember her name at the moment. Her name escapes me, but
Courtney.
Minerva Courtney. She did a fantastic job, and most people, if they watch that, they would just think that was Chaplin. They wouldn't even know that was an impersonator. So, Rena, do you want to thank anybody before we run the surge and?
Well, yeah, I want to remember. So when you see people walking down the street, they're going to get ice cream. That's what I wanted to. That was why I wanted to bring that up. As far as the whole weekend, Serge Bromberg and Lobster Films, he's helped us, loaned us access to films, the Sidney Chaplin documentary, as well as the 5 S&A, Niles S&A Chaplins. That's been really a wonderful thing. We really appreciate that. I wanted to give Jason an opportunity to say anything before you do the introduction for the film. So, Jason, any words before I come back?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this film that you're going to watch, we've got some submitted material, which will probably be explained a little bit more, but from people that I recognize from Facebook. Now, Facebook has been my main plug into the world of getting to know these people, and I've had discussions with people one-on-one. We've got some people that haven't submitted that definitely will have to be mentioned, and I'm going to forget some, but we've got people like Billy Skadlock that's not in it, but he's a very important part of the impersonation of Chaplin, and Damian Blake, of course, who's world renowned as well, and we've got John Farrakano, who's actually in this, which is great, and he's here joining. I see that he's here today too. But we've got a whole bunch of people and new people. What I think is most amazing is I've just made some new friends online that are, some are in the video, and it's so exciting to watch them do this. And I think it's a great way to express yourself. Do you have to look exactly like Chaplin? Obviously not to have that spirit in you. Anyway, I'll talk too long if you let me.
Well, main thing is just be aware is if for some reason you didn't end up in our video, that's not anything on you. We're hoping to do a compilation of, now that we're kind of doing more of this online things, more of our Chaplin over the years. I mean, it's really, I work in the historical area, and even just doing the management of events is something to acknowledge and to, what am I trying to say, and to archive. So we have a ton of archival things that are from 10 different sources, and we were trying to figure out a way to put them all together, but it would turn into a 4-hour event, and we can't do that. So just be aware that if we don't have pictures from the past Chaplin days for Niles, whatever, we are hoping at some point to have some kind of a little gallery of those.
And at the very, very end, there is a world premiere film presentation of Jason's new Tramp short film, which is very timely in the COVID-19 world we live in today. So if you stay till the very end, there's the world premiere of his new film. So I know a lot of people were waiting for that. So I just wanted to let them know that it is going to be included.
And then after that, we'll get back together here and we'll give the prizes out, verbal prizes anyway. So why don't you introduce the rest of the people that are going to be in this film, Nigel?
Yeah. And how long
go ahead. Well, I had the pleasure of editing this together from all the material that got sent in. So not only will you see Chaplin impersonators from all over the world, you'll also see Janet Klein, who's a vintage performer out here in California. I don't know why I said out here. I'm in Florida. Out there in California. You'll see Frederick Hodges, who is another performer. He plays piano at the Niles Museum. He accompanies a lot of the films. He's a historian in his own right, and he is actually recorded, if you have some of the restored Chaplin DVDs, especially the Keystone films, he did some of the soundtracks for those films as well. He's going to be singing a song I'd never heard of before. I was astounded as to how many songs about Charlie Chaplin's walk and Charlie Chaplin's feet that were written in 1915. It's unbelievable. So then we have that.
And he also is doing the soundtrack for the Google Doodle.
Yes. The Google Doodle was filmed in Niles. I did not know that up until a while back. So
yes, David actually was involved with helping them get locations and things like that.
Wow. All right, so I'm ready when you are.
Jason, I think you might have something you want to say.
I just want to know how, for everybody, how long is this video so that they don't,
It's about 20 minutes, but it goes by very fast because there are all these different impersonators and all these different film clips. So it's not going to be laborious at all. It'll be very enjoyable.
Oh, excellent. Okay, well.
All right.
Okay, hit it.
Here's a little tune from 1915. Remember when everyone danced in the town? It got such a hold on the people around, made such a hit that they all got it bad, and everybody just simply went mad. It's just how they said so from night until day. If you were good, you made a hit. But since moving pictures became all the rage, and everyone now must admit, it doesn't matter anywhere you go. Watch 'em coming out of any cinema show. Shuffling along, they're acting like a rabbit. When you see Charlie Chaplin, you can't help but get the habit. First they stumble over both their feet, swing their stick around and look up and down the street. Fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, all your wives' relations and a half a dozen others. In London, Paris, or New York, everybody does the Charlie Chaplin walk. Since Charlie Chaplin became all the craze, everyone copies his funny old ways. They copy his hat and the curl in his hair. His mustache is something you cannot compare. They copy the way he makes love to the girls. His method really is a treat. There's one thing about Charlie they never will get, and that is the shoes on his feet. Oh, it doesn't matter anywhere you go. Watch 'em coming out of any cinema show. Shuffling along, they're acting like a rabbit. When you see Charlie Chaplin, you can't help but get the habit. First they stumble over both their feet, swing a stick around and look up and down the street. Fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, all your wife's relations and a half a dozen others. In London, Paris, or New York, everybody does the Charlie Chaplin walk. In London, Paris, or New York, everybody does the Charlie Chaplin walk.
Greetings! I would like to play for you a song that Jerome Kern wrote in 1915 for his hit Broadway musical, Nobody Home. The song is called The Chaplin Walk. There's a brand new dance creation. There's a brand new dance sensation that has hurled this peaceful nation in a world of syncopation since Charlie Chaplin came to town. Just see them imitating Chaplin's walk. Just see them syncopating Chaplin's walk. In every window that you pass by, you'll see his statue smiling there at you. Just see them cultivating Chaplin's walk. The town is going mad since this new fad they've had. I've seen a corner faker get a laugh from an undertaker imitating Charlie Chaplin's walk.
J'ai notre site avore, j'ai la coula la toi.
There's a funny man I know who gets all the people's dough. He works in the movie show of Mr. Charlie Chaplin. Dancing in the cabaret is a thing of bygone days. He's the latest and the greatest craze. Those Charlie Chaplin feet, those funny Chaplin feet. When he walks down the street, he starts to slip, trip, and tumble around the town, and an auto knocks him down. Poor Charlie, 20 times a day they spill him, but they never kill him like a bug. He gives the gals a hug, and when he stubs his toes and bangs his nose, you'll tumble from your seat. One fat lady that I saw got a dislocated jaw, laughing at those Charlie Chaplin feet. Yeah! Let me hear it! Mommy comes home every night with a great big appetite, but he never eats a bite like he like a movie. Soon the wine will start to slop, just a slap that Chaplin bob. Every man is growing of his job.
It's a beautiful song. It was written by Charlie Chaplin in 1936 as part of the instrumental score for Modern Times. The lyrics were added in 1954 by Jeffrey Parson and John Turner. Smile though your heart is aching, smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile through your fear and sorrow. Smile and maybe tomorrow you see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you smile, though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile through your fear and sorrow. Smile and maybe tomorrow you see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You find that life is still worthwhile if you smile.
Jason, how do you feel? World premiere.
Yeah, world premiere. Yeah, the two men in line for the social distancing aspect are my two of my three boys. My oldest one is 15. He's far too cool to be in a silent film, but the other two aren't that cool, I guess. 'Cause yes.
So you know what's interesting is that film that you made shows the timelessness of that character. That you can put him in a situation today, and that could have worked in 1919, just as it works today.
Yeah, I guess it could actually. It's hard to take current issues and current situations and put them into a Chaplin-esque film without looking like you're just trying to make a Chaplin film because it looks easy or something like that. But it's.
Is that Dan?
I hear Dan.
Dan's talking from the space station.
Oh, I thought it was just me because I hear him. I wake up in the middle of the night and I swear I can hear him.
Yes, Dan? What are you saying there? Dan?
Oh,
Okay.
Hi. I'm just on standby. I wasn't trying to interrupt Jason. I would never do that, Jason.
No, never.
The voice from beyond. Well, actually, can you imagine, though, doing a lot of different Chaplin bits right now? I mean, I'm picturing him trying to put the mask on, How would he do that? Would it be over, that could be one, or him standing in line at the store or trying to find things and people avoiding him. And I mean, there's just all kinds of ways that things could be played out in a Chaplin.
Oh, yeah. And that's the fun part. I mean, we're all here to celebrate that. And we have quite a number of people who emulate the image of Chaplin or the silent film era, whatever, and it's a major variety. They're all influenced by that same one guy pretty much, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And just putting together that little piece, it's a minute and a half, but it's nice to just jump in, coordinate, write, film, and edit something like that, including my little boys in it. They were ecstatic to be in it, and they
I could tell.
And they were wearing the little vests, I remember, that we gave you from Niles. So that's why
right.
their outfits, they picked out their outfits themselves, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. And Mom helped them with that. But there's Lucas, who was in the first line. He was wearing a hat that I used as another character in Uptown Drunk, my film. I was playing another character, so I wore that hat. And the other hat is actually a top hat from 1921. I just happened to have kicking around, so it fit his head perfectly. So,
wow.
All right, well, we could dive right in. So I'm going to be giving the announcement of the winners for the Lookalike contest, and then we'll give the answers. But we're not going to announce the winners of the other thing because it's just too much to deal with. So we will acknowledge those winners. I believe that we have access to everybody who hopefully otherwise I may be posting on the Niles Film Museum Facebook page. We'll post the winners, and then if we don't have access to you, if we don't have your email address or something like that, then I will also say that as well. So when you go to Facebook, look up Niles Film Museum, that's the name of our page, and then look for the winners, and we'll be in touch if we have your way to contact you. Otherwise, let us know and we will get in touch. Okay, so the winners for our contest, we have, we thought we'd give categories out because everybody works so hard on doing this.
And they were also different and unique too. That's the cool thing about, there were no rules to this. It was just do whatever you want. And it's amazing when you open the floodgates like that and just let people's creativity take over, you get all sorts of, not a single one was exactly like the other one.
Right. That's right. Okay, so here we go. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So for the best use of a single prop, we award that prize to Maria Teresa Moyano from Argentina. Yay!
Yeah, I think she's still watching. Woo! Congratulations.
And for the most expressive award, beautiful eyes, let me tell you, is Karina Alves from Brazil. Yay!
Yay!
Best outfit is Allison Locke from Calgary, Canada.
Congratulations.
And there's Dan again. Okay, hi Dan. All right, and then for the best walk, we gave Marcy Downs, Lomita, California, the prize. Yay!
Woo.
And let's see. Okay, you might be sensing a trend. Okay, we had 7 entrants. We thought they all were worthy of something. So for the best variety or showcase of roles, we give that to Jack Cutler from the UK.
Awesome.
Of roles.
Yes.
Yeah, French fry or chip roll dance.
Yeah.
And it was delicious. Kaiser. And best ensemble piece, meaning a nice mixture of different things, and also the fact that there was a group involved. Best ensemble, Joanna Ramos from Miami, California. And the
She's
most
watching too.
yes, and the most enthusiasm goes to John Ferracano. So yay, team! You guys are all winners. Wonderful. Very
What
happy.
amazed me about his was if you look at the Easy Street set, he has the sign, he has the policeman. It's almost identical to the real film. He really did his homework on the backgrounds of those films.
I was trying to figure out if that was a green screen or not. I don't know, the mystery. So if he's there, maybe he can tell us the secret, or maybe he doesn't want to divulge the secret.
Yeah, John's got some great films. He's done an awful lot of work, and he works with the accuracy on things. So yeah, it was nice to see that entry in there. And yeah, he gets most enthusiasm, I would add, and authenticity to it, because he's working toward the accuracy of things, which is really great to see.
Mm-hmm.
To match it up. Yeah. All right. So with that, why don't we go to the answers for the trivia questions? And we apologize that we don't have everything tallied and say actual people's names to actual prizes, but our minds are not there right now. So why don't we give our answers to the questions? Here we go. So you are on, Jason.
Oh, crap. So I got to open the document again.
I got to open the document and get the answer key.
All right, here we go. My first question was, who are the 4 founders of United Artists? And that would be not any member of the Beatles whatsoever.
Elvis,
and,
Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash.
Yes. Chaplin, of course. Fairbanks, Pickford, Griffith. Right? Am I right?
Oh, Jack Pickford, then Jack Pickford.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just reading it.
Mary Pickford.
But I know that. And who?
Melanie Griffith.
Yes.
It's not Melanie Griffith. It's
Not Melanie Griffith. No.
Griffith Observatory.
That's it. Not Griffith, J. Griffith. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
right.
and now what do you want to do with that information?
Okay, so Charlie Chaplin, Douglas Fairbanks, we're good. Okay, next question.
And
Our answer.
William
Next
Hart
question.
was involved at the very beginning. We just got that comment
Yes,
from
that's true.
Dominique.
You're right.
Cool. Okay, that tree costume that Chaplin wore, what was the name of that film? So what Charlie Chaplin film was it that he wore the tree costume? That would be Shoulder Arms.
Yes, right. That's
Very
right.
faithfully recreated in the Robert Downey Jr. movie.
It's a good bit. I can
Yeah,
say.
oh, for sure.
Yeah, iconic. Okay, question number 3 was, who is the lead actress in the majority of Charlie Chaplin's movies? And I think the key there was the majority, because there's a lot of lead actresses, of course. And that would be Edna Purviance. Of course, she was the leading lady for 37 films, mostly shorts.
Yep, and she was out of Lovelock, Nevada. Excuse me, Lovelock, Nevada.
Oh.
There's a very nice website called ednapurviance.org, done by Linda Wada, and she has carried the torch for her. And definitely, you can see more there, including the mural that's in my backyard of Charlie Chaplin and all the SNA people. She has
And
that.
if you come to Niles, you can see where she stayed when she was making films with Charlie, which we assume Charlie also stayed there then too.
Well, that's a thing. That this is one of those things where unless we have actual proof, we don't know. And also at that time, it would have been really questionable about him staying with her. And we don't know. We don't know. I'm not saying he might not have snuck over and had some time with her, but as far as actually residing in the place she stayed at, we're not totally. And by the way, everybody thinks that Charlie stayed at their house, and it's technically possible, but like George Washington slept here. Unless we have unless we have actual like diary entries or a photograph with an inscription or something from that time, we're not totally sold on that. We know a couple places. We know one place for sure that he stayed because he actually put it in his autobiography, and it's because he thought he was going to a fancy California millionaire's mansion, and sadly he was going to this basically a tract home because Bronco Billy, when he was not hanging out with Charlie at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco with Wine, Women, and Song, he was just sleeping and working and sleeping and working, so he didn't care where he lived. He didn't need a mansion. So
he would make like 5 movies in a week, right? And then go to San Francisco and
be literally cranking them out. Yes,
yeah.
he's cranking out the films. Yeah. Okay, so
Okay. All right. The biggest question of the day is, and the most complex is, what was the true color of Chaplin's eyes? And the color is blue. Blue.
Yay.
Blue eyes. Yeah. Nigel's demonstrating blue
That's
eyes.
right. And I mentioned this earlier, but in the Robert Downey Jr. movie, for whatever reason, they kept his brown eyes. They didn't give him blue contacts, which I'm not sure if they really cared too much about the accuracy of that. But in the biographies you read, they always talk about his eyes and how the blue was very popping. So
yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and whether it's a shade of blue, green, or blue, I mean, it's written down as blue. So so even if we want to talk about that with little flecks of this, we're going with blue. We're just
like David Bowie's eyes, right?
2 different colors. I'm just saying is if anybody wants to quibble with us about it's blue, green, not blue, we're just going with blue. Okay, that's our answer. So whoever wrote,
he had 2 of them. That's a fact. He had 2 of them.
Two blue eyes. I see. Okay, that's true. Well, because David Bowie didn't have 2 of the same color. So.
No.
All right. All right, next question answer.
All right. This will be Chaplin's 1923 film, A Woman of Paris, was based on the flamboyant and extravagant life of which woman? And that would be Peggy Hopkins Joyce.
And she was evidently a combination actress and socialite and a lot of different things. So, and had quite a few engagements and I guess marriages, and sounds like Chaplin. Okay.
Jackie Coogan was the breakout star of Chaplin's 1921 film The Kid. What TV show and which character did Coogan act in? And that would be The Addams Family as Uncle Fester.
Yeah. Now,
which people cannot believe when you show them a picture of him in The Kid and you go, guess who he grew up to be? And then you show them a picture of Uncle Fester. It's like they can't even imagine those are the same. That's the same person. It's hilarious.
Well, he also did cameos in quite a few TV shows, Bonanzas and that kind of thing, Gunsmokes and what have you. But I remember him in The Partridge Family, and he just looked like an older Uncle Fester with hair, a little bit around the sides, what have you. But no, he was pretty amazing. And you know who he married? We should say who he married. He actually, one of his wives was Betty Grable. So.
Oh, really?
Pretty amazing. Yeah, when they were very young, very young.
So he was like a Mickey Rooney, where he got Ava Gardner somehow for like a year and married her, and then must have been the. Okay, so the next question is, what is Chaplin's film that he acted the role as a lady? And so the first one was A Busy Day from 1914, where he actually plays a woman. And then the other two, The Masquerader and A Woman, which was filmed for SNA, he essentially plays himself, the tramp, who disguises himself as a woman to either get back into some place that he got kicked out of or escape an awkward situation. So, and this is honestly something I never thought about before. A Busy Day, he actually plays a woman, and that's the only one. But the other two, he's the tramp, but he disguises himself as a woman to get out of a situation. So that's something I just added to my memory bank today.
And a little bit of a nitpick here. A Busy Day came out in May of 1914.
Mm-hmm.
And The Masquerader came out in August of 1914. And then The Woman came out in 1915. So if we want to get, but you're right, though. The question is an interesting question because it's not, but we would have gone with any of the,
mm-hmm.
If The Masquerader had been first and he'd been playing the tramp dressed as a lady, it still would have worked. But the fact that he actually was playing a woman in the A Busy Day is pretty funny. So, okay. All right. So you have the last question on your group there, Nigel.
Oh, okay.
I can't say the name of the group.
That's okay.
I can't
So
pronounce it.
I had to scroll down. What is the name of the juvenile group that Chaplin belonged to and rapidly won popular favor as an outstanding tap dancer? And that is what, the 8 Lancashire Lads?
That's the answer.
You know what's funny? I wanted to mention this when we asked the question, but I waited till the end. I had a DVD set, one of the public domain sets that had Chaplin trivia on it, and one of them, they misspelled it. They said it was what it really was a clog dancing troupe, but it said a dog dancing troupe. So for about the first 5 years until I really started reading on this stuff, I thought he was part of a dog dancing troupe. So thank you, Madison Home Video, for that error that persisted with me for about 5 years.
So whether it was clog dancing or tap dancing or a combination thereof, that's the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at the time and I'm realizing we should probably be wrapping this thing up pretty quickly here. So the answer to, did Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, and Buster Keaton act with Chaplin? And the answer is yes and no. So Laurel actually was Arthur Stanley Jefferson, who worked with Chaplin in the Carno vaudeville troupe, which I believe was after his Lads experience. That's what actually got him to come to America. And my understanding was that Arthur Stanley Jefferson did a great impersonation of Charlie Chaplin. So he actually directly worked with him, and not on film though. Now Buster Keaton was actually part of Chaplin's Limelight film, and I think that was such an amazing tip of the hat to Keaton. Because Charlie, there's ego involved. Okay, there's ego involved with all of these things, and Chaplin didn't mention Keaton in his autobiography at all. But all I can say is, but I think he did something actually more important, because he put him in a film of his. Mm-hmm. And there's an amazing story that Norman Lloyd talked about, how Keaton and Chaplin were making the scene where Chaplin falls into the drum, and Keaton, and he was saying, did I do it right? And Keaton was actually, in a sense, directing him and working with him. And he said, and Norman Lloyd said, I couldn't believe it. I'm watching this film and I'm happy. Keaton direct Chaplin. It's just so pretty cool. And then as far as Laurel and Hardy, the trick part was, no, he didn't work. Hardy didn't work directly with Chaplin. Although if we want to get silly and say that they worked together because there's a compilation of their films in the same cavalcade series and things like that during the 50s, no. But the trick question was, Oliver Hardy worked with Billy West in a Charlie Chaplin knockoff called His Night Out. So the answer is no. So whoever, if anybody gave any close to that answer, then they'll win. All right, what was the first short that Charlie made while under contract with the S&A Film Manufacturing Company, and where was it filmed? Well, the company he came to Niles and was really underwhelmed. Niles was, this little country town. Yes, it was within an hour or two or a few hours from San Francisco, but it was definitely a small town. And so Charlie was used to the bright lights in big city. And so he said, could I go to Chicago and make movies there? And he did. He made his new job in Chicago. And then he realized that George Spohr wasn't going to be paying for overtime or any of those other things that a person who's rather obsessive about his work.
The lights went off at 6 o'clock.
That's right. So he wanted to do a more complete job. So he realized if he went to Niles, he could do that there. So he came back to Niles and then did 5 films there. And then at that point, he asked Anderson if he could just rent him a studio down in Los Angeles, really where his friends were, Arbuckle and such were, and he was able to finish his contract, what ended up being finishing his contract for S&A. And then he's just stayed in Hollywood and built a studio and all kinds of things, Mutual and First National and all that. All right, the last question. What was the name of the location where Charlie is seen walking on the road at the beginning? and the ending of the film, The Tramp. It is, dun, 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 Niles Canyon, also part of the Scenic Highway 84 in the San Francisco Bay Area in California. So there we have it.
And what is it? 1.5?
1.8 miles.
1.8 miles.
Miles from the entrance of Niles Boulevard and Mission Boulevard. When you drive up, the thing about it is you can't stop. There's no stopping. There's no marker because people would want to get out, but there's no turnaround. There's nothing like that. So you just have to set your odometer and then go, okay, I get it, and take a quick picture as you're driving through. Every couple of years, they do actually close off Highway 84 from top to bottom. It's 6 miles. And people are able to walk or ride their bikes up and down. So we actually stand there with pictures and hats and canes, and then people can take their own tramp picture in the exact tramp location.
So was it David who discovered the exact pinpoint area because of the way it looks in the film? He was able to connect the mountains?
I believe so. I believe so. It was him and what's that? Oh, Harold Smith. Gerald Smith. Okay.
Oh, hi, David. I didn't know he was there.
He's over at the peanut gallery. We got 4 dogs. He's taking care of them. But Gerald Smith is the one who found that location. That's really great. I'm glad we get a officially say Gerald Smith because he actually ended up doing several, let's just say, new versions of Chaplin films using a lot of local folks. So I'm glad we get to give him that acknowledgement. It is pretty amazing though because it looks the same. The hillside and the foliage and everything. You can, if you know what you're looking at, you really can pick it out. Also, there is a question that it has been brought to our attention that Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin had the same stylish mustache. So they had a similar look. But we can say that somebody else co-opted that look, and that's part of the reason why, if you're ever doing a Chaplin, you really should wear the hat. You should always wear the hat, because otherwise people may mistake you for something else that you're not wanting to represent.
Yeah, I'm Adenoid Hinkle, of course.
Yes, that's what it is.
How did you know?
All right, so I think we probably need to close this out, but I want to make sure that Jason gets a chance to say anything.
You just reminded me, I was one day walking downtown Toronto after a corporate gig dressed as the Tramp.
Oh no.
Having somebody yell out the window as I drive by, "Hey, Hitler!"
No.
Not nice.
If you got the hat,
I threw the hat on really quick. Yeah. But if they only knew their history of Chaplin, that they're not entirely off the mark. If they did just say Henkel, that would have been a little more appreciated. But yeah, for sure. And people talk a lot about that mustache. But it was definitely a style.
Okay. Hey, and John is chiming in here. He says the secret was for the Easy Street Police sign was a combination of a picture-in-a-picture effect where the sign was pasted above the doorway in the film in a post. No green screen there.
Very cool.
Okay, I don't understand that, but I'll have to read it over again a couple times. And we will have the text all available. By the way, the chat will be posted as well. So that's, I think, helpful for you to know in case you guys want to catch up.
And thank you to everyone who helped put this festival together, everyone that submitted videos and submitted the impersonations and performed and everything. And Kate Goyevich from Chaplin office, she was nice enough to post this event on the official Chaplin page. So everyone all around the world could be a part of this. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some people, but that's why I don't go into names specifically because it's so many.
Well, and actually we still have a special guest coming up to do a special thing. But I want to mention, I do want to thank everybody. I want to mention Human and Dan for helping us do this Zoom.
Behind the scenes, yes, they're working very hard.
And when you see this again, it's going to look prettier. That's all I can say. And then also Smile. Smile's a really important film. It was, song. It was an important song. It was an important song for me in a time in my life when things changed. And I listened to it every night, essentially, as a mantra. And it really helped a lot. And on the front page of our film festival, we have a whole homage to Smile because it's, in a sense, become a song that is important at this time. Lady Gaga sang it, and we have a bunch of links to different versions of it. and more information about the history of it. And I think it's really, really important.
And a film that won an Oscar last year actually used that as the main theme, although I don't know if it's necessarily in a good way. The Joker movie, that was used in the film and in the trailer, and there's a scene where the Joker goes into a movie premiere, and it's modern times. So there's a major scene in that film that takes place in a vintage theater showing modern times, and the song Smile is used. So for better or for worse, it's still out there being enjoyed by people.
Well, and also I do want to chime in that we are doing the restoration of our building. We're housed in a 1913 Nickelodeon movie theater, but there was a roll-up door, and there'd been drywall added and different things because it became a karate studio for a while and a photographer studio for a while. And we've removed that roll-up door. We've removed the drywall. It's exposed the original lath and plaster. We're getting that replastered. We're going to be having artwork appropriate for the era. Sconces appropriate. It's going to be really lovely. So when we actually do get to reopen, and I mean, we're not going to be open for a few more months, but when we get to reopen, it's going to be pretty amazing because it's going to be, it's going to look like the original. It's going to be a real grand reopening, truly.
If that's one good thing about this pandemic, it's that it gave the museum an opportunity to shut down and do all this work, which had been scheduled for a long time. But because they do screenings every weekend and do tours, it was almost impossible to shut the theater down to do these renovations. So if there's one good thing that came out of this fiasco, it's that, I would say, trying to find the lighter side of the situation.
Lighter is that's always good. Speaking of lighter sides, we do want to thank Dan Kamen, and he has a magic trick for us if he can come on camera. And I think that's how we're going to end. So, Mr. Chaplin expert himself, Dan Kamen.
Live from the space station. Yes.
From the space station. Okay, Dan, take it away. Thank you all.
Everybody. Hi, everybody. Well, first of all, I wanted to, can you all hear me? Is everybody able to hear?
Yep.
How about all you participants? Just wave your computers around or your phones. I want to say it's wonderful to watch all these Charlie Chaplins from all over the world. And one point that a lot of people have made, and I want to reiterate it, is one of the wonderful things about Charlie Chaplin is how he opens worlds to us of new friendships. And I have had the pleasure of making friends with many of the folks from the Niles Film Museum and all over the world. I wrote a book, a stupid book, a stupid thing to do. Many years ago, I wrote a book on Charlie Chaplin, and it was a stupid thing to do because it was a book, I was interested in his art, in how his movement communicates ideas. And so I wrote a book about that was focused on his movement. It would have gotten me a PhD had I been a PhD student, but it got me, it sold maybe 5 copies, but at the same time opened doors all around the world to people who are similarly enchanted by the work and life of Charlie Chaplin. We're all in a different world now because of the lockdown. And I have made we've all had to make other new friends. In some cases, our families, our loved ones, or as we realize the cost of not being able to be with them or being with them almost more than we might want. I have spent a lot of time playing cards during this time, and I've made a kind of discovery I wanted to share with you, which is that cards are suffering from the lockdown just the same way that we do, because it turns out they're very social creatures, which is why, of course, they always hang out in packs. So take, for example, the family of aces. There's the son, the spade. The mother, of course, is the heart of the family. The little daughter is the club, and the father is the diamond. Now, they knew that they couldn't hang around with the pack because that would be dangerous. But what they wondered is, did it also mean they couldn't hang around with each other? Well, the son certainly thought so. I've been watching the news, he told them, and I'm leaving because I'm the spade and I can dig it. I want some social distance, which did not sit very well with his mother because she said, son, I miss you too much. I've got to visit. You're breaking my heart. But she knew, of course, it couldn't be a real visit. It had to be a virtual visit just like our Chaplin Day celebration is on Zoom. So she visited virtually because, you know, no matter how far you roam, you can never get away from a mother's love. Well, the daddy, he pretended to be cool with this. He told him he didn't mind the lockdown. He pretended to be a hard guy. He was the diamond. But you know what? He wasn't fooling anybody. They could see right through him. They knew he just wanted to join the virtual party as well, which left the little sister with an identity crisis because she was a club. But she realized there's no such thing as a club with only one member. You got to have a group. So she wondered whether she should rejoin the pack. Well, but under the circumstances that she knew that would be dangerous. But she missed her family so much, she decided she would, forgetting for a moment, it couldn't be a real visit, a visit in real life. It had to be a virtual visit. So she simply made herself scarce until it was her turn to join the group. So take a tip from the family of aces, the son, the mother, the daddy, the little sister. You know, you can get together virtually. You can be together in spirit, but don't really get together until the crisis is over. Until then, just keep washing your hands, and when it's safe, you'll be able to rejoin the pack, and you will have aced it.
Yay.
And that's my cautionary tale for all of my Chaplin friends in the panel and all of my Chaplin friends out there in the wide world.
I love that shirt, by the way.
This is a shirt from my friend. It's really my favorite T-shirt I've ever had.
Ooh.
It's my friend Alice Arts, who's a brilliant classical guitarist and had a trio for a while. And she used this lovely image of Chaplin, one of my favorites, and it's for the Alice Arts Guitar Trio. And those of you who can read music recognize the Chaplin Days theme song. This T-shirt wasn't made obviously for this year. It was made a long time ago. That's the opening notes of Smile.
Very cool.
So I have actually been using the lockdown. I realized I couldn't do the normal performances that I do in theaters. I've adapted one of them for my Red Letter Days program, which I'll be doing in about 2 hours here, because a lot of it is PowerPoint, so it's online images that'll be just as good. But what I've done during the lockdown is I realized that the art that I started doing when I was a kid, which was sleight of hand magic, is perfect for our new world, because it's the only performing art that was really designed for one-on-one, one person, a performance to a very small audience, a table of people, just a couple of people, one person, and we're all communicating that way, face-to-face, one-on-one. So I've been doing little respite performances for people who are in need. I thought about advertising it for, tell your friends who are having trouble, who are sick or what. And then I realized in terms of the crisis, in terms of stress, that's everybody in the world right now. It's such a scary time. And as in other scary times, those of us who know the power of it, what do? We turn to the beautiful, powerful, emotionally still so involving films of our hero, Charlie Chaplin. So I'm so pleased to be here for another Chaplin Days in the virtual world. And by the way, I have there'll be a book for sale in the virtual lobby tonight for other days. You can play, of course, you can pay with your virtual dollars. So I hope to virtually see you there.
All right.
And I would add that anybody that's part of this live stream from all over the world that submitted videos, that did whatever, if you make it to the museum, make sure to let somebody there know that you were a part of the virtual festival, because that's just an amazing thing.
Okay, so, and I want to mention that we are doing the building restoration. So if you'd like to help donate, we on the front of our website, www.nilesfilmmuseum.org, we do have a link that you're welcome to send us money. You can also send us checks or, Bitcoin, whatever. Anything that we can actually use to pay people. That would be great. We'd love to be able to have some more funds. And this weekend, if we raise $1,000, we'll have matching funds for that. So it is really a big deal for us. So we do appreciate that. I do want to put that plug in for Dan's program that's coming up in just a little while. And we are getting near the 2-hour mark for our program here. So I think it's time for us to close out. But I am really happy, really happy that you all tuned in. And I'm very excited that we were able to do this. So
Me too.
So from Niles, I want to bid you all adieu and thank you very much. Last words?
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in person next year.
Bye-bye.